The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.
You're listening to Be Kind, Rewind with Tim Nydell, taking you back to when movies were actually good.
Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
When music wasn't auto-tuned. When TV only had a few channels. And now, here's your host, Tim Nydell.
What is going on, everybody? As you can tell by our brand new intro, this is Be Kind Rewind with Tim Nydell, which is me, of course, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Gary Lane.
How's it going, everybody?
How are you doing,
How's
Gary?
How's it going, Tim? They can't answer me.
They
you
can't. Well, they can, but they might seem a little crazy, I guess, if they're answering you while they're working or something in the cubicle. I'm doing good, Gary.
Good.
That's what they're saying right now. I'm doing good. And then their boss turns around like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But yes, I am doing very well myself.
Excellent.
How are you doing, Gary?
You know, it's a high-stress week in a lot of different ways, but I'm glad to be here talking to you. It's a good distraction from everything.
Amen to that. So today's episode is going to be fairly different, I think, from what we're going to be putting out there for this show. This show is pretty much just going to be a get-to-know us episode. You know, last episode we had the amazing Don Felder on from the Eagles, and I think this episode we're just going to kind of explain to you more about the show, more about us, more of what you should expect from here on out about the show.
All right, I am excited to dive into this episode and see, learn a little bit about each other that we probably already know.
Yeah, we've known each other for what? I don't know. It feels like forever, but I really don't know.
Yeah. I know. It's been at least 7 years?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that.
Probably. We've even slept in the same bed together.
That's true. A couple of times.
I guess we can talk about that on a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've only been around each other, like 4 or 5 times in person, but
Yeah.
each time has been a very memorable experience for one reason or another. So
Absolutely, man. But we can talk about that on other shows, I guess. Like I said, this show is going to be all about getting to know us and the show. And let me just tell you a little bit about the show, Be Kind Rewind. Very similar to the one we already do, Saturday Morning Rewind, but that show mainly focuses on my childhood and the cartoons and animation that I loved as a kid. This show is going to be pretty much the same thing, just avoiding a lot about animation because I can keep that on my own show over there. So this one's going to be about movies I adored as a kid, actors I loved. I'm going to do celebrity interviews with many of them, I hope. Going to talk about music that I'm really excited to talk about because we don't get to do that on my show. We do it every now and then for animation, like intros or animated feature films, stuff like that. But music is a huge part of my life. I know, Gary, for you too. I mean, you're a musician.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and we've been kicking around some of these ideas for a long time, so it'll be nice to actually have a format where we can do
exactly, because we wanted to kind of start our own little network of Saturday Morning Rewind shows like that and do more movies or maybe 90s, stuff to talk about. And that's what this show is going to do. It's going to fill that void, talking about movies, celebrities, music. We might dabble in some video games, but we do that on our show as well. So who knows where this is going to lead us. But I'm very excited to see where this show goes. And
as am I.
As for the hosts, I'm your host, Tim Nydell, which you might know that already. Gary Lane is joining me. You'll be on most of the episodes, I believe. If you can. If you can't, I'll try to replace you, Gary. I'll try.
I'm going to try to be there, but I know, once a week can get a little tough for recording sometimes, but not when there's a pandemic going on. So.
And I am working from home now as of 2 weeks ago, so it's not so hard for me to settle down in my little recording booth here and record, and which is nice. It's not going to be a permanent thing, which I'm okay with. Working from home, it's got its perks, but I kind of hate sitting here all the day. I don't want to do fun things at my desk when work is over with.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
And if I can pan the camera over, right now we're not recording video for the show, but I have 4 monitors at my desk. I look like I'm operating for NASA or something. And when I got this desk just like 3 weeks ago, before I had to work from home, I didn't expect to fill it up with 4 monitors. So it's kind of cramped right now. But anyways,
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about that on the show. I did want to get to know us a little bit more, though. Gary, our show is about going back, and not necessarily reliving your childhood, but looking back at your childhood, the kind of stuff you loved doing as a kid, kind of stuff you loved listening to and watching as a kid. And I was just thinking, I don't know this about you, Gary. Did you have any nicknames when you were a kid?
Actually, no. I really didn't. At one point, I feel like somebody tried to start Garrison as a nickname, but it never stuck. Because why take a really short name and make it longer? Like Gary is already the nickname to. It fits very well.
Yeah.
Some people called me Gare just to shorten it.
Yeah.
I guess the only real nickname I had was Gary Jr. because my dad's also a Gary. So
Yep.
That was about it.
So if I was a bully and I went to your school, I would totally call you Gary Lame.
Oh, no, I never got that.
That's surprising. You must have been a cool kid, though, because maybe they didn't make fun of you.
I wasn't.
Gary Lame.
No, I was just always one of the tallest kids in my class, and even though I'm not threatening, nobody really picked on me for that
That's
reason.
funny because I was the shortest kid in my class. And everybody picked on me. Actually, no, I wasn't really picked on until middle school. Damn you, middle school years. I had a very good elementary, upbringing in Reno and Sparks, Nevada. I don't remember very many bullies that tormented me. So, and for me,
it's weird.
Go ahead.
My school, I started at a private school, and when I started in third grade was the highest grade that school had. And each year that we progressed, they added a year. So I never had to deal with older people until 10th grade. So that's probably how I avoided most of that.
Nice. All right, well, it's time for our first commercial break. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, And guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m. and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
And welcome back to Beacon Rewind with Tim Nydell and Gary Lame. That's your new nickname, by the way. If you don't have the .com already paid for after this, I'm going to be so mad at you.
Gary.lame.
It is. Welcome back. And like I said, this show is going to be all about getting to know us, getting to know the show, what to expect and everything. So I thought this first segment here will be about movies that we both enjoyed watching as we were kids, or just as... let me kind of explain this. The show's going to be... We're going to be talking about things that are from 1999 and older. So if it's beyond 2000, don't expect to talk about it unless one of our celebrity guests talks about it or comes on the show to promote something. That's when we'll talk about it. But for the most part, everything should be talking about is going to be older than 1999, which I was 19 back in 1999. So I was... Gary, you were, 16... 15, 12, 10.
I'm drawing a blank here. It wasn't... I don't know. We don't have the time for me to do
We
the math
don't.
on that.
So this first segment's going to be...
It's a good thing I'm an accountant.
Let's talk about movies that we loved as a kid. This segment, I can fill hours upon hours. So we'll revisit this many different episodes, I would imagine. For me, I'm going to take you guys back in time. Literally, Anna the movie. My favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. I talk about this all the time on the podcast and online, whatever. I mean, we even went to a convention. Was it last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago, right?
Right.
2 years ago. We went to just because they're having...
I think it was last year.
Was it last? Oh, my God. We went there. I went there only because the cast of Back to the Future was there. And so I flew from Montana to Orlando just to go see them. And as a kid, I remember the very first time I watched Back to the Future, I would have been 5 years old. No, 6 years old, actually, because it was during the home video release. I didn't watch it in theaters.
Right.
We watched it because my mom rented it. She came home after work, and I remember, it's so weird, his memories. I remember her opening the door with this cartridge in her hand. It's like, hey kids, we're gonna watch a movie. I don't remember exactly what she said, but something along that line. And we watched it, and that is my first memory of watching any movie ever. Like, I don't remember any other movie before that time. It's so weird. I remember just sitting there just loving that movie, and I've probably seen it, I don't know how many times, at least 300 or more. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Right. Like, I watch it at least once a month. And I have not ever stopped. They just released it on 4K, and I'm so tempted to buy it on 4K. Even though I own 2 different versions of VHS, I own DVD, 2 different versions of Blu-ray. And now, do I really need a 4K?
You got the animated series, too.
I do have the animated series. But I do think I need to buy it in 4K.
I mean, yeah, why not? And when they release the animated series on Blu-ray, of course, you got to get that.
Oh, it's true, because it's not on Blu-ray, it's on DVD. Man. What about you, Gary? What is one of your earliest memories or favorite movies from a kid?
Well, it's not one of my earliest memories, but if we're talking about movies that I've seen the most, it would have to be from 1994, Dumb and Dumber. I can't tell you why, but I've seen that movie. I don't know if I've ever said this to to anyone besides my wife, but there was a year where I tried to watch that movie every day when I was younger. I think I made it for maybe a month, if that. But I've seen it probably as many times as you've seen Back to the Future, just watching that tape over and over and over again. And I can't tell you why, but it's always been one of those that resonated with me.
It is a great movie. I can't tell you why either, but it is a great movie. I know I've seen it at least 20 times, which is a good amount of times to watch a movie, I think. I haven't seen it every day for my whole life, but I've seen it at least 20 times.
Yeah. It's wild. I remember I went to a job interview, and the guy that was asking the questions, he was like, he's asking all the typical questions, and then he's like, I'm going to ask one to throw you off. He's like, what's your favorite movie? And I answered Dumb and Dumber, and he said, why? And I said, because it takes a lot of intelligence to make a movie that's about two dumb people that smart. And needless to say, I didn't get the job, but I was pretty proud of my answer.
The guy who said Back to the Future got the job. I'm sorry.
I probably did, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good one to have, though. I remember the first time I watched that one too. We rented that one too. I remember we didn't go to the theater and all, but I do remember because back in those days, Jim Carrey was just everywhere, He was one of my favorite comedic actors back in those days too. So
yeah, he's so good. We were watching some In Living Color segments. And
oh God,
he is so good.
Yeah,
in things that he does.
Our local video rental store went out of business last year, and they were selling everything like super cheap. Everything was like $1, $2, and I got every single DVD of In Living Color for like $2 each of the sets. So yeah, I've been watching those too. They're fun to go back and watch.
Yeah, for sure. It couldn't make it nowadays.
Oh God, no, no, they could not.
But to your point, I remember when I first saw Back to the Future as well, because I think the first time I saw it was through a McDonald's promotion. If you remember when McDonald's did like VHS
they
tapes,
did.
I remember my mom buying it for me and watching it.
That's how we bought it too, was through McDonald's. We also got Field of Dreams, and I think Dances with Wolves, was that one of them too? Maybe not.
I can never remember. I think there were 5. And I can never remember what the other.
I remember for sure Field of Dreams and Back to the Future because we got both of those at the same time too. But yeah, I remember that. It's like $1 or so just to get the VHS. No, it's probably more than that. Probably $5 or so to get the movie. I don't remember. My parents paid for it.
Still cheap though.
It's still super cheap. It's cheaper than buying the meal nowadays at McDonald's.
That's true. Yeah.
I have a family of 5. It costs us $45 for McDonald's nowadays.
That's crazy. I mean, I think E.T. might have been one of the options.
Maybe.
I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, those are good memories right there. See, that's what the show is going to be about. Just bring you back. You might not remember these, but it'll spark some kind of memory in your brain. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when they did that back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, whatever decade we're talking about. Other movies, Back to the Future. I was huge into Arnold movies as a kid.
Oh yeah.
I think that was probably my second. I'm calling that a genre. Arnold movies are a genre on itself.
Sure. And so are Stallone movies.
Oh yeah, it was tied.
I mean,
for
they're
both
sort of genres.
Exactly. No, I love both of them equally. I think I liked Arnold more as a kid, but I like Stallone movies more as an adult. I
agree with that 100%. I was just going to say it. I've been going back through and watching Stallone movies recently, and it's just you can't get better than Cliffhanger.
A Cobra is one of my guilty favorites. I love Cobra. I went through like a whole year of just putting a toothpick but a match in my mouth, like he did in the movie. I did that for like a solid year, and none of my friends knew what I was doing, which means I shouldn't be friends with them.
That's true.
But yeah, Arnold, I remember, I think my first Arnold movie, God, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember the first time I saw Terminator 2. That was my first rated R movie. I remember watching uncensored, we actually rented it, and my parents let me watch it without covering my eyes or sending me to my room, which they did. They did quite a bit when I was a kid. They did that for Total Recall during the first 2 minutes with Sharon Stone. They said, Timmy, go to your room. And they finished watching it while I remember kind of looking under my door to that, 1.5-inch gap. It's like, what can I see? What can I see? And I was so mad they wouldn't let me watch it. And they watch it now, and it's like, I don't know. I guess when you got to the 3-boobed lady, they probably would have kicked me out anyways.
That's fair.
But yeah, T2 first. I remember going to school the next day after watching it and just bragging to everybody, I watched Terminator 2. And a couple of us watched it. And I was at a private school, Christian school at the time, so it's kind of a big deal, I guess, to watch rated R movies. I don't know.
Yep.
What about you? What other movies kind of come to mind when you think about those old days?
Well, I used to. I remember kind of speaking of movies that we saw maybe before we should have. Terminator 2 was definitely one for me. My mom didn't understand the rating system, so she rented it for me. But I loved Roadhouse, man.
God,
Roadhouse
yes.
was one of my favorites.
Yes.
And I always saw it like the dinner in a movie version, though. So I never really saw the R-rated version until years later, and I was like,
it's raunchy.
This is...
It's like Skinemax nowadays. That's pretty much what Roadhouse is, and it's easily one of my favorite movies. I love Roadhouse. I love Patrick Stewart. Patrick Swayze is one of my favorite actors. We'll talk about him in another segment soon. But Roadhouse, man, I love Roadhouse. And I don't think I even saw it I don't remember seeing it until I was a teenager. So I don't remember as a kid even watching the TV, censored version.
Yeah, it was quite different, but that's always the fun part, is watching these movies on TV all your life and then finally seeing the uncut version. It's like, oh.
Like when I watched T1. I watched T1 first on TV, censored, then I watched it and I was like, oh, wow. So that's how she gets pregnant.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like I saw. I don't remember T2 being as vulgar as it was, but like when I watched it as an adult, I was like, wow, I can't believe that wasn't more impressionable on me when I was younger.
All right, it's time for another break. We'll be right back talking about our favorite music that we grew up listening to.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the Angry Giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media, the future of broadcasting. Listen live at fenixmedia.us.
Welcome back to Beacon Rewind, part of the Fenix Media Network. Gary, so I decided the next segment we're going to be talking about is the music that we loved listening to as a kid. Why don't you take this one first? What did you listen to when you were a kid?
Well, I listened to a lot of Christian music as a kid, and then that kind of segued into oldies music. My mom... there was a oldies station where I grew up called Oldies 93 that played a lot of... It was just the most variety of any oldies channel that I've experienced. And I think that it really increased my love for music. It was mostly stuff from the 60s and 70s and a little bit from the 50s, but nothing really beyond that. So I think, a lot of that influenced who I am and who I became. And then also I was, alive predominantly in the 90s, or like really finding my footing predominantly in the 90s. So that is also a decade that means a lot to me musically.
Yeah.
How about you?
90s is great for music, I think, honestly. I really do think so. We'll do more episodes about the 90s music, I think. Me, I guess it's very similar to you. I mean, kind of easy listening was my choice of music back in the 80s. I listened to some Christian music as well. Do you remember Carmen?
Oh yeah.
My first concert was Carmen.
I was specifically thinking.
That was my first concert, was a Carmen concert.
That's probably the same for me, if not, some other like gospel band group that I don't recall, but like Carmen's the first rock and roll experience I remember.
Yep, for sure. Big old arenas. Of course, it was free to go to. That's why we went at least, I think I've seen them like 3 times when I was a kid. But yeah, besides that, I listened to the Eagles, which we talked about in our first episode. Eagles was huge in my life. Journey was huge in my life. What else did I just remember listening to the radio like all the time when I was a kid. Like all the time. I would even record it on a cassette to play it back sometimes. And I was the kind of kid, I would call in to the radio stations, request songs. There's a couple times when I called in not knowing it was a dedication hour. So when I requested, they was like, who do you want to dedicate this to? And I was like, my mom. And I forget what song it was. Probably Michael Bolton. But then she said, why do you want to dedicate it to your mom? I was like, because she helped me clean my room. That's a true story, by the way. That's a 100% true story, true conversation I had with the DJ when I was probably like 9 years old. And I really do think it was Michael Bolton, because I did like Michael Bolton quite a bit when I was a kid.
As one does in that time.
Exactly. He was huge in the 80s, man. I wasn't into the harder rock until the 90s. It wasn't until I think my first harder rock album was Bush, 16 Stone.
Okay.
I think that was my first like alternative rock CD that I owned was Bush. Before that, I never listened to Poison, never listened to Def Leppard, never listened to Metallica even, I was a soft rock kid, And same with you, 60s and 70s music. I love the classic rock stations. I love the Beach Boys. I love listening to Mamas and Papas and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I'm a big fan of. I find myself now as I'm getting older, I'm a big fan of the like 60s, 70s, and a little bit 80s R&B, and I think that a lot of, well, I mean, I was born and raised in the South, so beach music is a very big thing around here too. So most of the beach bands come from the Carolinas, typically South, but they play North Carolina a lot. So a lot of, the Drifters and the Embers and all these semi-famous beach bands, were always playing around me. So I remember just being very influenced by that.
Beach music. I think Beach Boys was my biggest of the beach. It's pretty stereotypical to say, I think, but I love me some Beach Boys. I had a chance to almost see them in Reno when I was a kid, and I was so mad that we didn't go because it was at one of the casinos outside, and they were announcing that they're bringing in bulldozers worth of sand to put where the pit is, where you're standing. So it's going to be like a beach concert in Reno, and John Stamos was going to be there too from Full House because he was a Beach Boy at the time. I was so mad that we didn't go see that concert. That would have been my first concert instead of Carmen. But no, my parents had to take me to Carmen instead.
Well, the cost was probably in their favor for Carmen.
That's probably true too. But still, man, my parents, they hated me as a kid, I think. I loved the Beach Boys too. They were one of my favorites. I mean, Wouldn't This Be Nice is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. Yeah,
and it's hard to really say what they meant to me, but yeah, they were a big one.
I'm trying to think of other music. How can I forget? How can I forget Bryan Adams? My God.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, seriously, people make fun of him now. And not so much anymore, but they kind of did, especially during the early seasons of South Park when they kind of talk bad about Canada and everything. But Bryan Adams was a huge, huge part of my childhood and early teen years. I remember my first time listening and hearing him, I think, would have been when my parents rented Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And that song was just looped everywhere in that movie. And then at the end, you see the whole music video. On the VHS version, there's a music video of it, of him singing, and it shows clips of the movies and everything. I don't think it's on the Blu-ray and DVD releases at all.
We were watching that recently on DVD, and it was like, I guess, one of the first releases, because you actually had to turn the DVD over mid-movie.
Oh, I remember that.
And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I mean, the movie's not that long.
No, it's not. It's not.
but
yeah, I remember hearing that song at the end of it and thinking, this is a damn good song. And then I went to my room, turned on my radio like I always do. Like I said, I was always listening to music. And that song was playing on the radio as I turned it on. I was like thinking, oh man, that's awesome. And ever since then, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked on that song.
Well, it was everywhere.
It was
huge. And I mean, I wasn't a huge Bryan Adams fan as a kid. My wife was though. So like through her, I've gotten to love his music more and seen him in concert and stuff. And, but I mean, even I couldn't deny Everything I Do. And the one with Rod Stewart and Sting.
The Three Musketeers one, All for One.
All for One, yeah. That one was pretty.
Yeah, that was a good
popular on the radio too, as I recall. Also, for me, I think Disney music, Disney music was a big influence.
For sure, I remember. I have a good story about that. We were at a baseball game with a couple buddies of mine, and I had my Walkman with me, and I had my headphones on and everything. I remember one of my friends looking at me and was like, oh, what are you listening to? Like, what are you rocking out to? And he kind of stole the headphones from me, and it was like Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid or something. And he was like, oh, okay. Because I used to go to the library.
I always hated that question.
Yeah, I used to go to the library and rent their cassettes or their albums, and I would just copy it onto my own cassette. That's how I got my Disney music as a kid.
That's smart. Yeah. I remember back whenever it was probably Windows 95, before Windows Media Player was really a huge thing. I would sit there and use the little record feature on the computer. So I'd put the CD in, and then I would record 60 seconds, and then I'd have to hit record again. And then the day that I figured out that I could record a blank file that was like 6 minutes long, and then just play it back and record onto that 6-minute file, it was like, wow, this is amazing. It's
mind blown.
It's crazy how hard things were to do back in the day.
For sure. I mean, I used to have to take my Casio recorder to the TV. I remember doing that to the Chipmunk Adventure to get the songs from Chipmunk Adventure on my cassette, was put it up to the TV to record it.
Worth your time, though, because such great songs.
Oh, I love that movie. We'll talk about that on Saturday Morning Rewind, because that's an animated show. You know how dorky we're sounding right now with our music picks?
Very, very.
But that's okay.
I mean, I think I really get more interesting with my 90s picks, but
I do too. That's when I found my music. That's when I found the music that I still listen to now. Like, I'm gonna like Gravity Kills. You probably never heard of Gravity Kills. Have you?
I have. Well, because of you.
Okay, yeah. One of my favorite industrial hard rock, bands out there. I love Gravity Kills. Very similar to Stabbing Westward, and probably in my top 4-5 favorite bands of all time. So we get cooler as we get older,
I mean, unless you like us now, at which point you may not like us in the future.
That's true. That's true.
To make myself sound a little bit cooler, I was a big Christopher Cross fan.
Oh man. Sailing? Were you sailing?
I was, yeah.
I got that song on my phone, so I can't talk. But with that note, we'll be right back.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true.
someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media, the future of broadcasting. Explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
I think we're going to close out this episode talking about some of our favorite actors that we grew up loving back in the 80s and 90s. This is a hard category. Super hard category, I think, because so many great ones, especially in those eras of 80s and 70s, 60s. Who comes to mind for you when you think of actors you loved?
Well, maybe it's because we just talked about him earlier, but I can't deny, what an influence Jim Carrey was for me at a young age, probably too impressionable age.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember I got sent home from school and my teacher's complaint was that I was acting too much like Jim Carrey. So, but I mean, I don't love him now, and I have nothing against him, but it's not quite the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a big influence on me.
Yeah, I love Jim Carrey. I loved all the earlier movies I remember seeing of him, and hilarious stuff. Man, I'm trying to think. I mean, of course, Arnold, we talked about Arnold, how much of a huge impact he was and his movies were on our childhood. I remember, like we both said we went to Christian schools. I remember even praying one time for Arnold Schwarzenegger at school.
Really?
I don't remember what for, but yeah, I remember praying for him one time. Oh God, we're the coolest kids ever, man. Wow. I'm telling you right now, we were the coolest hosts ever.
No, I loved Bill Murray. Bill Murray was great for me.
Bill Murray, Ghostbusters.
He could do comedy, he could do drama, he could do anything.
For sure. Yeah, Bill Murray is huge. Love all those old movies. I didn't watch Caddyshack or that kind of stuff till much later in life, of course, but all the ones I was able to see, I remember loving as a kid. I do remember, so one of my favorites as a kid, I still love this movie. It's a Wonderful Life is one of my favorite movies. And I was a huge Jimmy Stewart fan. Still am. I still love Jimmy Stewart. I watched all the old Hitchcock movies, Rear Window and Vertigo and all that kind of stuff as a kid. Love him to death. And I remember being so young that I was so naive because I saw a modern time, maybe around 85-ish, of him being interviewed. And he was so old, like so old. I remember breaking down and crying because there was a time I thought he still looked like It's a Wonderful Life. You know what I mean? And then I saw him modern day times, like 30 years older. It was a shock to me, man. It was a shock.
Yeah, I bet so. I mean, time is kind of meaningless when you're younger. It's like it's about when you saw it, not what it actually represents. Like I remember they did a re-release for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in theaters when I was pretty young, and at that time I didn't know it was the first Walt Disney picture. You know, like I thought it was just the one in between Beauty and the Beast and or whatever. Whenever I saw it, Aladdin or whatever, I was just. So when I found out how old it was, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's like 100 years old now.
I think a big one that might be the same for both of us kind of on that Disney train is Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis, for sure. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was I think I loved that. I may have watched that even before Ghostbusters. I don't remember, or around the same time. Probably around the same time.
Yeah.
Even though there's years apart, both of them, I think I saw them around the same time, so I fell in love with them instantly after both of those movies.
Yeah, there's something so likable about him. I'm not going to say he's an award-winning actor.
No.
He's very just likable.
He's definitely not punchable. God, that video just... If you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he was recently, probably about a month ago, somebody just like sideswiped him with their fist and like knocked him out, like leaving the terminal in, I think it was New York. Oh, God. I just want to find that guy.
What the hell, New York? I say that a lot, though. What the hell, New York? Let's see. Who else?
Kurt Russell, big one of mine. I love Kurt Russell, still do. He's back in those days. You know, you had childhood Kurt Russell, which you and I both, I think we both loved Disney movies back then, especially the animated and the feature film live action ones, which he was a big part of. So I grew up watching him and loving him when he was a child actor. Then I watched him. What was the first thing I would have seen that he was in as an adult? It wouldn't be The Thing. It wouldn't be Escape from New York. I was a little too young for those when they came out. I really don't. I do remember the first time I watched...
Overboard?
It could have been Overboard, but I do have a vivid memory of the first time I watched Tango and Cash.
Oh.
That may be one of the first times I watched him. Now, that was another one that I was sent to my room during the filming of it, during the watching of it, because of Terry Hatcher's scene in the movie. But I do remember watching that one shortly after that. Maybe they watched it and thought maybe it's not as bad as they thought. I think that's what happened. They wanted to finish watching it themselves, and they let me revisit it the night after or something like that, and love that movie. Love Kurt Russell. I rewatched The Thing a couple nights ago. One of my favorite horror movies of all time.
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it last Saturday.
I think I probably watched it Halloween too. I think I did watch it Halloween.
It's great.
Yeah, visual effects. Oh my God, it beats any special CG effect nowadays.
Yep.
And I think when I was watching it, I decided that I'm gonna go as McCready for Halloween next year, which is a character he played in The Thing. Because I can grow the beard out. I don't have his hair, but he has that weird looking cowboy hat a couple of times during the shoot. I can wear that hat, and it's Montana where I live, so it's more likely going to be 20 degrees or colder. So I can wear that getup, make my own little flamethrower, put that on my back, and nobody's going to know who I am. I'll have a little name tag that says McCready on it. Oh no! I think I should walk around with some blood samples in my hand with the metal thing that he sticks it with to see if they're infected or not. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, just be careful. You don't want them thinking you're like a homeless Ghostbuster or something.
Oh, it's true.
Either way.
That would look like. Oh well, either way, people think it's cool, so I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. You can get a wig too.
I could get a wig. I could. I don't know though. Or I can just get a hood, a hood to put over like he has when he goes outside, something. I don't know, but
you could also do Snake Plissken relatively easily.
Yeah,
the eye patch helps on that one.
That's true.
I'm giving you all sorts of ideas for next Halloween, man.
I know you are, and thank you. We went to Spirit Halloween last night in town. Everything's 50% off. It's pretty awesome. I was looking for flamethrowers. They don't have any. I got to make my own.
Boo.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that Spirit wasn't going to open this year, but I guess they did. I just never got to go to one.
Yeah. Like I said, in Montana, nothing closes in Montana, which is probably why we have the most rapidly growing cases in the country, because nobody cares.
Right.
Oh, which reminds me of another actor that I can talk about right now. I loved, still do, I keep saying that because I still do, Kevin Costner movies.
Right.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering if you were going to say.
Yeah,
Costner.
Kevin Costner movies, man. You can't deny the quality of films that man made in the 80s and early 90s. I'm not saying he doesn't do quality content now, because he still does with Yellowstone, but those movies, man, Robin Hood, you got Untouchables, you got Field of Dreams, you have Dances with Wolves, you have, what else? There's a ton more. Bodyguard, I love that movie. Waterworld. I don't hate that movie. I don't hate it.
I actually don't either. The Postman.
Which is Waterworld on land. Yep.
Yes. Bull Durham, which I've never been a fan of, but it was filmed near me, so that's kind of.
Yeah, I didn't watch that till later in life. It just never really interested me when I was younger.
Yeah, it's weird. I like baseball movies, but I don't. That one just doesn't work for me for some reason. But yeah, I mean, like he was everywhere in the 80s and 90s, so he's a great pick.
He is, and I guess I can say on this episode that I'm going to be filming a scene for his TV show Yellowstone. I got the call on a Sunday afternoon. They want me to play a sheriff on an episode because they're filming here in my little town in Montana. So I might have a scene with them next week, which is exciting.
There you go. Yeah, if you didn't have to sign an NDA, you're good.
No,
I keep looking around my room trying to find something to trigger a memory, or it's like just think of an actor or something that I haven't mentioned, because my life has been movies.
Oh,
I can't
for sure.
believe I'm having such a hard time.
I know. There's so many places we could go with this episode, so many different things we can talk about. But unfortunately, that is going to do it for this episode, Gary. It went by fast, man. We hardly got any time to talk about anything.
I know, but I'm off the hook for the things I didn't prepare for. So
Exactly. So, yep, that is going to do it for this episode. Please find me online, timnydell.com. Gary, what about yourself?
I am on Instagram at @TheRealGaryLane. Not Gary Lame, Gary Lane.
You need to get Gary Lame, I'm telling you right now. It's going to be a hit. It will be.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.